Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and most likely young people that are looking to get into the automobile world. My name is Mark Roden, and today we're going to be going over what I believe are the top 10 best jobs for a young car enthusiast. Now, these are mostly starter jobs. Some of them can last you a lifetime, but they're mostly get your foot in the door, learn a couple things, and then move up from there kind of jobs. So don't expect to be making $1 million out of the gate with any of these jobs, unless I otherwise specify that you're going to be making a lot of money. Most of these are, like I said, just starter jobs. So keep that in mind. On top of that, if you are a car guy and you want to get a job, there is one thing I would like to say before I even start this video, and that is that getting a job surrounding cars and doing everything with cars sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes will actually ruin your passion for cars. It's happened with a couple of people I know. It happened with my dad. He still loves cars, but he doesn't ever want to work on his own cars because he's a mechanic and he works on them all day. So he doesn't get home and want to do it again since he just did it for 8 hours. So keep that in mind. Definitely, if you're thinking about something else, like maybe you want to be a vet and you have a passion for cars, I would recommend going with the vet because at least you still can have fun with the cars and not look at it as a job. But without further ado, let's go right into this with number 10. Number 10, and this is honestly one of the best. I would obviously put this at number 2, but it's just so obvious, so I put it down here at number 10 because everybody obviously thinks about this. It's a mechanic. I mean, duh. My dad's a mechanic. A lot of people out there that like cars become mechanics because it makes sense. You want to build cars, you want to learn how to work on your own car all day, and so what better way to get than to do that than to get paid for doing it? You know what I mean? You get to learn everything about cars and learn how to work on them, but get money while doing it as well. A lot of people also think that being a mechanic is going to go relatively easy because they see all these YouTube videos of people working on their cars and it seems like it goes by easy. And they don't understand that those people just cut out all the baloney that they have to go through, all the bolts that snap and all the things that just don't want to come off, all the horrible engineering designs like where motor mounts are, because 9 times out of 10 motor mounts are in the worst place possible, and they leave out all that stuff so that it looks great. On top of that, people don't understand that this is hard work. Most shops don't have AC. You're sitting there all day freaking busting your butthole, and then on top of all that, if you work at a dealership, when the person comes in to get their car, they don't even thank you. They thank the person at the front desk for doing all the work. They don't thank the actual mechanic, which is just annoying. It's definitely a tough one, but the money is definitely worth it. Next up at the number 9 spot is another one that's very obvious, but another one that I highly recommend not doing your whole life, obviously, and it's a delivery/Uber driver. Now, here's the thing. If you do become a delivery driver, you're going to have to use your own car. So at that point, you have to already own a vehicle. And at first, it's going to be a blast. You're going to have a lot of fun. You get to drive and listen to music all day. You get to do whatever you want to do, driving around, delivering stuff or whatever like that. It's going to be fun at first. But then you're going to start to realize that it's kind of scary. You're putting a lot of miles on your car. And just because you're driving, it doesn't mean that you get to like go race and have a blast, have a really, really fun time. You know, it's just, you're just driving from point A to point B. It's not like you're racing your car around all the time. And on top of that, there is a lot of the pay is usually not very good for delivery drivers, especially not for the mileage you're putting on your car and the gas that you're putting on your car. But I will say, if you do start doing this, it can lead into like a truck driver, which if you want to be a truck driver and go across the country, that's a great job. It pays insanely well, but that's only, again, for certain types of people. Number 8 spot is another one that's very similar to a mechanic, I would say, but definitely different. You know, it has its differences, but I would say it's very similar. It's a body shop employee. Body shops are different than mechanics. Okay, mechanics where they fix your car, its internal issues. The body shop will fix its external issues. So if it has, you know, scratches or it's been in an accident or you need something to be replaced, like a fender or something, you bring it to these guys. They paint the cars, they repair them after accidents, they do all the body work. You don't really need to know as much as a regular mechanic when doing this, but it's also much more tedious than a regular mechanic, and it's much more frustrating. You're constantly making sure that you have to do everything perfect and everything lines up, or else the person is not going to be happy. If you buy an aftermarket fender and it doesn't match up to the original OEM fender, then it's not going to look as good. A lot of people are also cheap, so they're going to want to buy the aftermarket fenders and not the OEM fenders, meaning that you're going to have to put the aftermarket ones on and figure out how to line it up correctly. On top of that, painting is annoying, and the paint fumes themselves can cause a lot of headaches and issues later on in life. It's not an easy job, but again, just like the mechanic, it pays well. Coming in at the number 7 spot is going to a car guy that has a knack for the technologies, a tuner. You obviously, in order to be a tuner, you must be very, very good with computers. You have to be able to learn a lot about graphs. I could never be a tuner in my entire life. I use Google Drive to write out these scripts, okay? And that's all I know. My editing is horrible. I am not a technology whiz whatsoever. If you like crunching numbers and all that techno, looking at screens all day kind of stuff, this is for you. This is like the financial advisor of the car world, you know? You're always sitting there freaking doing the tedious stuff that nobody else wants to do because it gives everybody else a headache while you enjoy that headache. And like I said, this is the reason why it's at number 7. Tuners also are well, the reason why it's at number 7, I'll say real quick, is because it's not for everybody, so I put it here at number 7. But tuners also, they are very, it's a very stressful job because you have to, you're your own boss. You can't just go work for a company that's going to have you tune motors for them. You are somebody that needs to know other people and have those other people bring their cars to you and get them tuned. If you do that, you can make a lot of money. Tuners make a lot of money, but the problem is actually getting people that know you and trust you to tune their car. Coming in the number 6 spot is another one that I would say is a very good starter job, and you can move up in it, but I would recommend looking at other jobs while you're doing it. It's an auto parts seller. I actually did this one before I quit to do YouTube full time, and it was great. I actually loved it a lot. I really recommend getting a job as an auto parts seller at a relatively like low populated area, if that makes sense. Like if there's not a lot of people come in, because then you get these regulars and it feels like a little family. It was awesome. You get to learn about parts and what they do, which is very helpful if you're looking to get into cars. You don't actually get to obviously learn how to build cars though, and how to fix cars and stuff like that. So that's a big downside. You learn about the parts and you learn about where they go, what they do, and all that stuff, but you don't learn about fixing them. The upsides are you're not breaking your back all day. It's not hard work whatsoever. It's really easy work actually. And you get to see a lot of cool builds because I was sitting there all the time and all these people with cool builds would come in for parts for their cars, and you got to go outside and look at them and talk to the owner of it. And that was really cool. It also was a good place to, you know, socialize and network and get some other, you know, people that are into cars to, if you're a tuner on the side, tune their cars for them. Coming in at the number 5 spot, and this is honestly one that I wanted to put a lot higher, but I realized that it's definitely not very realistic. It's a YouTuber. I did it, you know, like everybody's gonna be like, oh my god, only some people get to be a car YouTuber though. It's like that's a very rare job. I thought the same thing. I started it, I got no views for months, and then I was just like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. And then I went back because I was bored one day and I did it again, and that video blew up. It just takes time. It really does. It's definitely pretty stressful once it becomes your actual job, because you're always caught up on these numbers, and even though people tell you like don't care about the views, don't care about subscribers, don't care about this stuff, it's your human nature, man. You're gonna care a little bit about it, and it's going to drive you nuts sometimes. It also pays depending on how much you work, which is another very stressful thing, because it's not like you're going to get a set paycheck every month. It depends how hard you work, and it depends how good you do, and that is very stressful. All your money falls on you as a YouTuber. Everything about your job falls on you. It's fun as hell. Obviously, it's a blast to do, and a lot of people praise you for it. I get so many people commenting being like, thank you so much, even though I do literally nothing compared to some other guys in the car world. So it's definitely very rewarding, but it's a bit of a hard one for sure. Coming in at number 4 spot is definitely one that's a starter that leads into actually another one that we have on this list, but it's a car washer. Yeah, man. Believe it or not, this is pretty good, especially if you're a young kid that is just like, that needs a job like for after school or whatever. These are great jobs for you. A bunch of cool cars will come in, which is very good for motivation. You can obviously look at these cars and be like, yeah, man, I want to own one of those one day. On top of that, it's obviously extremely easy and one of a very few jobs on this list where you can cool yourself down actually, which is nice. You're sitting there all day sweating as a mechanic. You can't just go outside and spray a hose on your head. Here you can do that. It's going to get obviously very repetitive and very boring very quickly, but that's because it's a part-time job. It's not a job that you're going to do for the rest of your life. And obviously, yes, the pay is pretty low. Now, if you want to own a car wash or something like that, the pay is significantly higher. But if you want to go that route and you really do care about like making cars look pretty, then instead of being a car washer, I recommend the next thing, which is an auto detailer. Third place, an auto detailer. These guys make money if they're good. Just like the YouTube stuff before, just like the tuner before, it all falls on you, how many people you know, your networking skills, and how much you work. It's like the car washer, but with much better pay and with more enjoyable work and with more steps. Also, cars being detailed will always be a lot nicer than cars being just brought into a car wash, so expect some pretty cool builds doing an auto detailer. You get to meet a lot of cool people within the community, and you get to start your own business, meaning your own hours and stuff like that. It's a very worth it job, but the problem is actually getting started. Being an auto detailer, everybody wants to be one. Everybody wants to be an auto detailer because they know the job is easy, it's fun, you get to be by yourself all day and just look at cool cars all day. And so it's a great job, it's a fun job to do. But everybody wants to do that, so you really got to, you know, figure out a way to make yourself different than the rest of the community. Because if I'm going to get my car detailed, right, I'm just going to look for the first guy. You know, I'm just going to look for the first guy out there that's going to detail my car for me and to bring it to that guy. And that's what most people are going to do. So, but the problem is getting your name out there more than everybody else, and that's very tough in that business. But coming in at second place is going to the car salesman. This is without a doubt one of the highest paying jobs on this list out of the gate. Obviously, a lot of these jobs can be brought to be a millionaire. Look at Adam LZ. He's a YouTuber, and holy moly. So you could obviously turn any of these jobs into a high paying job if you work hard enough and you're smart enough. But this is out of the gate one of the highest paying, but it's also one of the hardest. And I think people underestimate how much a good car salesman can change the mind of a customer. If you actually know cars, use that to your advantage. Most car salesmen, you go into a freaking dealership, and if you're a car guy yourself and you talk to a car salesman, you can instantly tell that all they did was read the pamphlet and was listing off everything that the company told them to say. And for car guys, that drives us away because we know that you have no idea what you're talking about. We probably know more about the car than you do. But if you actually know cars and you have a passion for them and you want to sell cars to people and you're good at being persuasive and stuff like that, you can definitely get in there. This is, again, for the type of guy who likes crunching numbers. And another thing about a car salesman is it's probably a better idea to go to college for, which means there's even more extra steps, more money that you have to pay, more stress. It's definitely a hard job to get into and all that stuff. But once you get it all settled down, it pays off. In first place, you're going to have to trust me on this one, guys. But first place is a racetrack employee. Here's the thing, man. If you live in a winter area, you can only work here during the summer, which is definitely sucks. It's a part-time job without a doubt in my mind. The pay isn't that great, but it's also pretty easy to move on up during the pay. But the real payoff for the racetrack employee stuff is a whole heap of things. First of all, like I said, it's probably during the summer, so you're not going to be working or at school, so you can get this job. It's definitely not easy, but it's well worth it. You get to look at cool cars racing around the track all day, which is motivation times 10, dude. You're freaking, holy moly. If you're looking at these race cars literally all day, you're going to be motivated as hell to go get your stuff done. On top of that, you get to meet the coolest people. Every single person there has a passion for cars, so you get to meet all those people. You get to build a network of insane individuals who all love cars and most likely have a lot of money and are willing to help you out. Sure, it won't be your forever job, but you can learn so much from this. I literally have a cousin. His name's Ryan. He drives a Mini Cooper S, and he races his Mini Cooper S. And guess where he started? Working at Lime Rock Park, which is 20 minutes away from where I live. It's a racetrack up here in Connecticut. He started working there. He loved cars so much, working there, loved watching him race around. So he bought his own Mini Cooper S, started racing it, and now he's a race car driver. That's obviously, I would have put race car driver on this list, but it's not realistic, so I didn't want to put it here. So a racetrack employee is a great way to get your foot in the door as a race car driver, or even like if you want to be a pit crew member, you could do that. There's a lot of high paying jobs that revolve around racing, and it all pretty much starts at a racetrack employee. I would recommend, honestly. Obviously, if you have a dad or something who has been a race car driver his whole life, he can get you in the door. But if you don't have any way to get your foot in the door, I think a racetrack employee is a great way to do it. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of the top 10 best jobs for a young car guy. I hope if you are young and you are looking for either a part-time job or a full-time job after high school, you learned something. I understand if you are, obviously if you're older, this part doesn't apply to you, but if you are young, I understand, man. High school, all they do is they push you to get a job, to go to college, to do all this stuff that you don't want to do. And you're like, why can't I just do something that I enjoy doing? And yet nobody out there tells you that you can do that. Well, here I am. Here's probably all the comments are going to be here telling you the same thing, that you can. It just takes the right ideas, the right mindsets, and knowing exactly what it is that you want to do to actually succeed in that field. I hope you guys enjoy. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Please don't fall for the idea that you have to go get a business job somewhere working as an accountant. You don't. There are plenty of jobs out there. Just do your research and find some. And yes, all these jobs you can make a serious living off of if you work hard enough. And if you have a job that you love doing, then most likely you're going to work hard enough to become really good at it. But thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.